Everyone wants the opportunity to have their voice or talent heard. And I mean everybody. It doesn't really matter what you're good at. On some level, you want people to recognize the fact that you're good at it. And really, that's okay. I mean, I'm guilty of this. It's why I'm sitting here right now making this video. Because I want my voice to be heard. But no matter the creativity, you can pretty much generalize people who create things into two categories. People who create for others and people who are creating for themselves. Now you're probably asking yourself, what's the difference? Well, people who create for others are driven by attention, by the money, or by praise. People who create for themselves are driven by passion. They're driven by the art. Now that's all good and pretentious, but let's be honest. We all just want to do what we love for a living. That's why earlier I said you could generalize creators into two categories, but most people will lean into one of these two sides more so than the other. Therein lies my problem with reality talent shows. It's a show judged by people who create for others, made by people who create for others, and auditioned for by people who create for others. Now, before you take to the keyboard to defend your favorite contestant on whichever show you watch every season of, hear me out. And just for the record, this is my subjective opinion on this, not the law. So, what is my problem with reality talent shows?
Roll credits.
My biggest issue is you don't need one of these shows to become a popular artist. I think what I should really say is that you don't need one of these shows to do what you love for a living. For some people who are a little bit younger, it becomes pretty commonplace that a lot of the bands who get popular every year and are put on the radio are bands who have won or at least been on one of these shows, and it just shouldn't be like that. I'm not saying these shows don't have their place in music, but even Simon Cowell knows that there's a line between what should be on the show and what shouldn't. And in 2003 on World Idol, a contestant by the name of Peter Everard came on and sung Nirvana's Lithium. And this is what Simon had to say.
This would be Kurt Cobain's biggest nightmare. It is, because you are conforming, and rock and roll is about not conforming. So therefore, you are a sheep in wolf's clothing.
So really, it's not necessarily the fact that these shows exist, but the view we have on them now, where it seems like the only way you can really get anything done in the music industry is to have been on one of these shows to tell you you're good, does not have to be the way to do it. Which brings me right into my next point. These shows are not the end-all, be-all, and final say of talent, which a lot of people have the misconception they are. There are plenty of talented people who have gone on this show and have been told they don't fit what the show is looking for. People generally assume this means these people don't have star talent. Linking back to Peter Everard, every judge on the World Idol panel told him the same thing. He's got a great voice, had a great look, but he's not meant to be on the show. He's better off in a band. I do think the good news is that, in general, it seems like a lot of the judges have a pretty good idea of what belongs on the show and what doesn't. I want to end on this final point, and if I leave you with any opinion to think about today, I hope it's this. I want to be a filmmaker. It's all I've wanted since I was a little kid and learned how to work a camera. So I understand the want to have your art seen or heard. Because I've been in the creative arts my whole life, I've seen too many people constitute being successful as being rich and being famous. When I was younger, my grandfather, who was a photographer, told me, "Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life." So I did, and I have been. Every day I wake up and work towards what I want to do, and it's why I'm sitting here right now making this video. But it's not because I want to be seen or want to be known. It's because I have stories to share. I have tales I want to tell people through film, and I want people to walk away from the things I have to say thinking, for the better or for worse, with some changed perception. Which is where I draw my final problem with a lot of people who have come to audition for this show. So many of these people don't have stories they want to tell. They just want the riches and the fame to come to them. Not because they've done anything to deserve it, but because they think it just should. And it's scary. As someone who holds art really close to them and art runs in my family, it's scary to think that it could be soon just completely overshadowed by people who have nothing to say but are getting all the attention. And it's not just these shows either. It's everywhere. Whether it's modern music, movies, photography, or any other art you personally take part of, as edgy as it sounds, corporations have already begun their takeovers. So my final opinion I hope to leave you with is, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. But please remember, it's not about the money. It's about the stories you have to tell. Thank you so much for watching.